Welcome back, dear viewers, and good morning, Kuwait. As a fact, IOM works to help ensure the orderly and human management of migration, to promote international cooperation on migration issues, to assist in the search of practical solutions to migration problems, and to provide humanitarian assistance to migrants in need, including refugees and internally displaced people. Abdulaziz.
And also especially that already we call it IOM office in Kuwait was established in 1991, and in 1917 the state of Kuwait joined IOM as an observer state. Since establishment, the office already works in close partnership with the governments in Kuwait, also including staff of the government-run shelter for female migrant workers who are already potential victims of or drug trafficking, also the exploitation. To know more about this topic, we are delighted to have with us today Mazen Abdul Hassan, Chief of Mission International Organization for Migration, IOM UN Migration. Hello and Ramadan Kareem.
Good morning and Ramadan Kareem.
Good morning and holy blessed of Ramadan, to you and to everybody. Tell us, Mr. Mazen, what is the IOM Kuwait work in the holy month?
Well, during the holy month, we are proceeding with our regular work and providing technical assistance for the government, but we are mainly focusing on a global campaign that will be launched in 2 days, mainly for donation for our humanitarian operation for Yemen and for Syria. This campaign will be launched hopefully by Friday, and it will remain for 4 weeks. And we hope that people can have more information about what we are doing on the humanitarian side worldwide, and then they will be contributing with their generous donation as well.
Nice. And there is something else also. When you go, and we say about the refugee, about the humanitarian, some people they are very afraid to deal with people. We call it xenophobia.
Exactly.
So can you describe to us about the xenophobia, especially in your work? You're already facing too much of this.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the xenophobia is a phenomenon that we are seeing increasing in the last years, especially now with the social media, where anyone can go on the social media and say so many misinformation. And we have witnessed this a lot during the pandemic, during the COVID time, where people were very scared from certain nationalities, from certain countries, and that's why we were dealing with the media and with the people by awareness raising about how to give the right information, how to give the right information about the displaced people, about the refugees, the migrants, and this effort could not be achieved without the media. Right. And that's why we did a big campaign with the media, including the media in Kuwait, to raise awareness about how to cover issues that are related to migration or to displaced people or to the refugees, in order to avoid any hate speech or any act of the xenophobia.
And this is important. See, we do campaigns just to aware people about the xenophobia, to deal with people.
Yeah. So is it, like, speaking of xenophobia, is it because of the pandemic, or it's just dealing with people itself?
Well, dealing with people itself is one of the facts that we face with the xenophobia, especially when we are dealing with migration. However, the pandemic was a factor that exacerbated this. So people were more afraid because of the pandemic, especially in the first phase, where everyone was not clear what is this pandemic, where it's coming from. So there was a lot of misinformation. And then during the first period, we managed to do a lot of awareness raising or activities worldwide to give the right information to people, so we avoid this kind of hate speech or any problem.
But Mr. Mazen, when we say xenophobia, as Abdulaziz mentioned it, are we talking about the staff of your organization, the IOM, or we're talking about just regular people dealing with the regular people?
Well, the xenophobia is mainly the general public.
Okay.
And this is the fact of the general public who's afraid or who have some concerns or have some attitude or have some of the prejudices toward others. And the others in this case would be the migrants, the displaced people, or the refugees.
I see. So basically bringing a group of people to another place.
And
exactly. That's why.
Yeah.
So tell us about the position assistance, in Ukraine, crisis and its needs nowadays.
Well, as you know, the Ukraine situation now is a very bad one. Like according to the recent figures that we have from our office there, there is more than 6 million displaced people inside Ukraine.
6 million.
We have 4 million refugees who are going to the neighboring countries. So the situation is going very worse. That's why we have increased our capacity in Ukraine and in the neighboring country that are hosting the refugees as well. Currently, we have more than 300 staff inside Ukraine who are delivering the humanitarian assistance, and more than 400 in the neighboring countries. Because to deal with 4 million refugees in the neighboring countries, we need to provide support to the states there, to provide them with the essential services, with health, with psychosocial support, with shelter. All these are among the area that we are providing support.
Means surrounding countries definitely involving.
Surrounding countries definitely involved, and also you mentioned something about the humanitarian support. You do too many these days. I know, especially in the holy month of Ramadan, even during all the year. What about your support for GOK?
Well, the government of Kuwait has been one of the main supporters for the humanitarian assistance for the UN in general and for our organization specifically. Like for the last 10 years, with the generous support of Kuwait, we have been able to provide support for many people inside Yemen, inside Syria, inside Iraq for the last 10 years. And this support is continuous as well. And we generally rely on the generous support of the donors like Kuwait in order to address the needs of people who are like the most vulnerable one.
And there is something important. See, the government of Kuwait, they always supporting them for the rest for the 10 years ferries. This is something important even for the humanitarian support and even someone who is want in need, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes, and here I would like to highlight that the support is not only in terms of the humanitarian funds that is coming. Like, for example, Kuwait in 2012 was one of the countries who hosted a pledging conference for the donor. Also, the advocacy that Kuwait is doing, the support and the participation in the global conferences. Like recently, there was a conference for Yemen and the one for Afghanistan, and the government of Kuwait is always keen to support our humanitarian efforts.
Mr. Mazen, if I understood correctly, your job or the organization that you work for, are they responsible about asylums and refugee status?
Well, we are mainly responsible for anything related to migration. And migration is a global term under which there are several categories. They can be the economic migrants, they can be the asylum seeker, they can be the refugee, they can be the displaced people. But when it comes to the legal support or the identification of the asylum seekers, it is mainly either the government or the agency responsible for the refugees, which is HCR. But we work very closely with them to support the asylum process of people who are in need.
Nice. So this is like the government of Kuwait. What about the worldwide humanitarian support? Tell me more.
Well, worldwide, the humanitarian support, if we look at the recent figure that was published by the Office of Coordination of the Humanitarian Affairs, unfortunately, 2022 is the year that saw a lot of people in need. So this was the, let's say, the most year where we have around the world more than 274 million people who are in need. And here we are talking about many countries that are affected either by the crisis, by the natural disaster, by the famine. And among them, there are top 10 countries that there are in most in need. And here we are talking about Sudan, South Sudan, Afghanistan, Yemen, Syria. And according to statistics around the world, there is around 1% of people who are displaced. This is a huge number. And in order to provide support for these people, our offices, together with UN agencies and other NGOs, are there in order to support them.
Mr. Mazen, let's be honest.
Yes.
Who funds, your organization? I mean, definitely when you bring a group of people to another country, they need to live, house, food, education.
Absolutely.
In a brief.
Yes, all the funds that are coming to our organization are coming from the member states who are part
of the UN?
Yes.
Okay.
So each organization has some of the, let's say, hundreds of the member states that are part of it. For example, Kuwait is an observer state for our organization.
Okay. So, for example, Canada.
Yes.
Now, when people go to Canada, Germany, UK, and they claim asylum and they get accepted as a convention refugees. So who's going to fund? Basically, the funds come from the members or no, from that country itself? Well,
generally, for people who are going to seek asylum in a new country, each country has a migration policy in place. And they are the one funding these things, especially, for example, in Canada, they have a huge Canadian program to receive, let's say, the refugees every year. So they are the one funding these program, and they use our expertise as UN agencies to
Okay.
provide them
I
with
see.
technical support.
Anyway, we reached the end. Abdulaziz, Mr. Mazen, unfortunately, we would like to really talk, more about, your profession, because it's really something touch our, hearts and feelings. Definitely, great thanks to you, Mazen, and to all your colleagues there, working with a human and trying to save human lives.
Thank you for hosting me, and Ramadan Mubarak again.
Ramadan Mubarak to you. Now, dear viewers, all thanks to our guest Mazen Abul Hassan, Chief of Mission International Organization for the Migration, IOM, UN Migration. Now, dear viewers, we reached the end of our episode for today. Hope you enjoyed our segment, me and my co-host Farid, and even about the distinguished guests. See you tomorrow. Have a good day.
See you tomorrow with a new episode, and until then, please stay safe and good day.